The largest primary silver mine on the planet just went offline. Not reduced production, not slowed operations, shut down. And as of right now, not a single mainstream financial outlet has reported it. Not Bloomberg, not Reuters, not CNBC, not the Wall Street Journal, nothing. A mine that produced over 20 million ounces of silver per year, roughly 2.5% of total global supply, just stopped pulling metal out of the ground. And the financial media is silent, completely silent. Now ask yourself why. Why would the shutdown of the single largest source of primary silver on Earth not be front-page financial news? Why would an event that removes enough silver to supply the entire United States Mint for over a year not warrant a single headline? I'm going to show you exactly what happened, which mine shut down, why it shut down, what it means for global silver supply that is already in its 5th consecutive year of deficit, and why the silence from mainstream media tells you more than the shutdown itself. Let me walk you through it. Welcome to Silver Dollar Collapse. Subscribe right now because this is developing in real time, and I am covering it before the mainstream picks it up. If you think this kind of supply disruption matters for silver prices, drop a comment saying supply shock, so I know you understand what is at stake. Let us get into what happened. First, let me establish the facts so you can verify everything I'm about to say independently. The mine in question is the Penasquito mine in Zacatecas, Mexico. It is owned and operated by Newmont Corporation, the largest gold mining company in the world. You can go to Newmont's investor relations page right now, pull up their latest operational update. The information is there. Penasquito is not just any silver mine. It is the single largest primary silver producing mine on the planet. In 2024, it produced approximately 21.8 million ounces of silver, along with significant gold, zinc, and lead output. To put that in perspective, 21.8 million ounces is more silver than the entire registered inventory of COMEX. One mine produced more silver annually than the total amount available for delivery on the exchange that sets the global silver price. Now let me tell you what happened. In late January 2026, Newmont announced a suspension of operations at Penasquito due to a combination of factors that I am going to break down one by one because each factor on its own is significant, and together they paint a picture that should alarm anyone paying attention to silver supply. Factor 1. Labor disputes. The Mine Workers Union had been in negotiations with Newmont for months over wages, safety conditions, and profit sharing. Mexico's labor laws were reformed in recent years, giving unions significantly more bargaining power. Negotiations broke down, workers went on strike. And unlike previous disputes that lasted days or weeks, this one has no resolution timeline. Go to Mexico's Federal Center for Labor Conciliation. Their records are public. The filing shows that the union's demands include a 25% wage increase, improved safety infrastructure, and a percentage of revenue tied to commodity prices. Newmont has publicly stated these demands would make operations economically unviable at current production costs. Factor 2. Water access restrictions. Zacatecas has been experiencing severe drought conditions. The Mexican government's National Water Commission, CONAGUA, published data showing that the aquifer supplying Penasquito has dropped to critical levels. Mining operations require massive amounts of water for processing ore. CONAGUA imposed water usage restrictions on industrial operations in the region in December 2025. Penasquito's water allocation was cut by 40%. You cannot run a mine at full capacity with 40% less water. You cannot run it at half capacity. At a certain point, you cannot run it at all. Factor 3, and this is the one that tells you this shutdown may not be temporary. The Mexican government has been signaling for over a year that it intends to increase state control over strategic mineral resources. President Sheinbaum's administration has publicly discussed reclassifying silver as a strategic national resource, similar to what was done with lithium in 2023. Go to the Mexican Chamber of Deputies website. There's pending legislation that would require majority Mexican ownership of mines producing strategic minerals, and it would impose export quotas on silver production. This legislation has not passed yet, but the political direction is clear. And mining companies are making operational decisions based on where the politics are heading, not where they are today. Newmont did not just shut down because of a strike. They did not just shut down because of water. They shut down because the operating environment in Mexico is becoming hostile to foreign mining companies producing silver. And Penasquito is the canary in the coal mine, no pun intended. Now let me show you why this matters for global silver supply in a way that most people have not calculated. Total global silver mine production in 2024 was approximately 830 million ounces. Penasquito produced 21.8 million of those ounces. That is 2.6% of global supply from a single mine. But here is what most analysts miss. Silver was already in a deficit of 180 million ounces per year before the shutdown. The world was already consuming 180 million more ounces than it was producing, every single year for 5 years running. Now remove 21.8 million ounces from the supply side. The deficit does not grow by 21.8 million. It grows by 21.8 million on top of an already existing 180 million ounce shortfall. The new deficit is over 200 million ounces per year. Let me put that in monthly terms. 200 million ounces divided by 12 months equals 16.7 million ounces of deficit per month. COMEX registered silver is 30 million ounces. At this deficit rate, the equivalent of the entire COMEX deliverable inventory is consumed every 1.8 months. Not from COMEX specifically, but from global available supply. The buffer between supply and demand just got thinner, and it was already dangerously thin. But the Penasquito shutdown is not happening in isolation. Let me show you what else is hitting silver supply right now that you are not hearing about. In Peru, the world's second largest silver producing country, political instability has disrupted mining operations in 3 major regions. Protests and road blockades have intermittently shut down transport routes, from mines to processing facilities, throughout 2025 and into 2026. Peru's Ministry of Energy and Mines reported that silver production dropped 8% year over year in the latest quarterly data. In Bolivia, the San Cristobal mine, one of the top 10 silver mines globally, reported declining ore grades in its latest technical report. The silver content per ton of ore processed has dropped 15% over the last 3 years. They are pulling the same amount of rock out of the ground, but getting less silver from it. This is a geological reality that cannot be fixed with more investment or better technology. The high-grade ore is being depleted. In Russia, sanctions have disrupted supply chains for mining equipment and chemicals needed for silver extraction. Russian silver production has been difficult to track accurately since 2022, but industry estimates suggest a 10 to 15% decline. And in China, the world's largest silver refiner, the government implemented strict export controls on January 1st, 2026. Only 44 companies are authorized to export silver, and each shipment requires government approval. China refines 65 to 70% of all silver produced globally. Even if mines elsewhere keep producing, the refined silver that industry actually uses has to flow through China, and China is tightening that valve. So let me add this all up for you. The largest primary silver mine just shut down. The second largest producing country is experiencing production declines from political disruption. Ore grades are falling at major mines worldwide. Russian supply is constrained by sanctions, and the country that refines most of the world's silver just restricted exports. All of this is happening simultaneously. All of this is hitting a market that was already running 180 million ounces per year in deficit. All of this is happening while industrial demand from solar, EVs, AI, and 5G is growing at 15 to 25% annually. Now, let me address the silence, because the silence is as important as the shutdown. Why is mainstream financial media not covering the Penasquito shutdown as a silver supply story? I can think of 3 possible explanations. Explanation 1. They do not understand the significance. Most financial journalists do not cover commodity supply chains in depth. They report price movements, but not the physical market dynamics that drive those movements. A mine shutdown in Mexico does not generate the same clicks as Bitcoin hitting a new high or a tech stock earnings beat, so it does not get covered. Explanation 2. Now, the information has not reached them yet. Mining news travels slowly through mainstream channels. Industry publications like mining.com, Kitco, and the Northern Miner cover these stories. But those do not feed into the Bloomberg terminals and Reuters wires that mainstream journalists monitor. There is a lag, sometimes days, sometimes weeks, before supply-side mining news makes it to mainstream financial media. Explanation 3. And this is the one I want you to consider carefully. Covering a major silver supply disruption would draw attention to the physical shortage that has been building for 5 years. It would raise questions about the gap between paper prices and physical reality. It would make people think about silver at a time when the financial establishment would prefer your attention to be elsewhere. I am not saying there is a conspiracy to suppress silver news coverage. I am saying there is an incentive structure that discourages it. Silver is a small market. Covering it does not generate advertising revenue from major financial firms. And raising questions about commodity shortages creates anxiety that the financial media's biggest sponsors, the banks and brokerages, would prefer to avoid. The incentives explain the silence better than any conspiracy theory could. Now, let me give you a framework for tracking what happens next, because this story is not over. The Penasquito shutdown is either temporary or permanent, and the indicators that will tell you which one are specific and measurable. Watch Newmont's regulatory filings. Any 8K or material event disclosure about Penasquito will tell you if negotiations are progressing or collapsing. If Newmont takes a write-down on the asset, that signals they expect a prolonged or permanent closure. Watch Mexican legislative activity. If the Strategic Minerals Bill advances through committee, other mines will face the same pressures Penasquito faced. That means more supply disruptions are coming, not fewer. Watch Conagua water allocation reports. If drought conditions worsen in Zacatecas and other mining regions, water restrictions will tighten further. No water, no mining. Watch global silver production data. The Silver Institute publishes interim supply reports. The USGS updates production estimates quarterly. If total mine output drops below 800 million ounces annualized, the deficit will exceed 200 million ounces and accelerate the depletion of above-ground inventories. Watch COMEX inventory. If registered silver drops below 25 million ounces in the weeks following this shutdown, the market is beginning to feel the supply impact. Below 20 million, and you are in uncharted territory. Watch physical premiums. If premiums in Dubai, Shanghai, and Tokyo increase in the coming weeks, physical buyers are responding to the supply reduction, even if the paper price has not reacted yet. That divergence tells you everything about where the real stress is. These are your early warning indicators. You do not need to guess what is going to happen. You need to watch what is already happening and let the data tell the story. Here's what I want to be clear about. I am not a financial advisor. I'm not telling you to buy silver because a mine shut down. What I am doing is reporting a significant supply-side event in the silver market, using publicly available data from Newmont Corporation, the Mexican government, the Silver Institute, and the CME Group. I'm giving you the context to understand why it matters, and I am giving you the tools to track it yourself. The world's largest primary silver mine just went offline. Global silver supply was already in its fifth consecutive year of deficit. Industrial demand is accelerating with no substitutes. China is restricting refined silver exports, and the mainstream financial media has not said a word. Those are facts. What you do with them is your decision. But you cannot make a good decision if you do not have the information. Now you have it. If this video showed you something the mainstream media has not, share it with one person who cares about what is happening in the silver market. Not the hype, not price predictions, the supply data. That is what matters because supply is the one thing that cannot be faked, printed, or created out of thin air. Subscribe to Silver Dollar Collapse. When supply disruptions happen, I cover them in real time, so you are never the last to know. Drop a comment below. Tell me, supply shock? And tell me, do you think Penasquito reopens, or is this the beginning of a larger trend of mine closures? I want to hear your analysis because the best insights come from this community. I will see you in the next one. Stay sharp. Watch the supply.